Good evening, guys. Good evening. Welcome to session. Where are we? Live session 4. Flying through the week. I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone has had a lovely, happy, healthy, positive day today, and everyone is feeling well in themselves. So many questions about herbal medicines. Okay. Yeah, I think we had a great response to last night's session because a lot of people in this community who've never learned and never kind of had much to do with herbal medicines before, never necessarily been exposed to them, but obviously we talked about the profound benefits they offer, and so many really lovely comments and messages around, well, this is a kind of a whole nother world that I didn't know existed, and that's what herbal medicine is. It's this kind of whole new realm of possibility with regards to making ourselves feel happier and healthier and more energized and more youthful and more positive and all the things we spoke about yesterday. Okay, so like I said, in yesterday's live session, we spoke about astragalus, and we spoke about the astragalus emperor's soup. We spoke about the astragalus chai. We spoke about the ashwagandha herb profile, and also hawthorn berry. Okay, so all of the recipes and herb profiles and resources we spoke about yesterday are now available on the Facebook page. Okay, so do have a look through those, and get the particularly the astragalus. Make the soup, make the chai latte, because they are just the perfect remedy for supporting health and wellness as we move into autumn and winter. So today, moving on to the 4th ritual. Okay, we've got a fundamentally important session tomorrow, because we're talking about melatonin, we're talking about sleep, we're talking about Ayurvedic remedies and tonics that we can drink, to support sleep. So tomorrow's session is fundamental. Okay. But tonight's session is something that when we were designing this week, and when we were designing, the core component parts to add into this week, in many ways, what we're talking about tonight was kind of first on the list. Okay, it was something that it was the first thing that kind of jumped out on me because of the reverence with which the topic is viewed in Ayurvedic medicine, but the significance and the reverence with which it's viewed from conventional research and conventional medicine. They're both saying the same thing. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat this evening. And that's all to do with the fundamental need every single day, without exception, to protect a period of contemplative me time. Okay, the science behind that, why it's so fundamental from an evolutionary perspective, and how we can embed that into what's called the Creator's Hour. So the Brahma Mutra Ayurvedic morning routine. Okay, I touched on it when we spoke about waking up a little bit earlier, and we spoke about the clock genes and the circadian rhythm. Tonight I want to build on that and talk about how we can combine the concept of me time and why it's so fundamentally important with regards to health promotion, disease prevention and longevity, and how we can dovetail that to creating a morning routine that is so overwhelmingly powerful in terms of how we start our day, how we optimize the health of our body and the health of our mind, that we dominate the day. Okay, that's what the way Ayurveda describes it, rather than us going out into the day and us being impacted upon by the day, stuck in traffic, a confrontation at work, a stressful meeting, whatever it is, rather than those things impacting upon us, we control the way the day goes in terms of our mindset, in terms of our health, in terms of our gratitude, in terms of our energy, and it all ties in. Okay, and for me, the morning routine is kind of just the most. I think it's the Ayurvedic practice that I think has the biggest impact upon me on a daily basis in terms of actual discernible benefits. Okay, so tonight's talking about both of those and dovetailing them together and providing a very practical framework for how we actually do this, okay? And in the Ayurvedic tradition, contemplative time is called the gateway to perfect health. That's the closest translation from the Sanskrit. Any kind of contemplation, okay, is called the gateway to perfect health. And I think that's very true, because if we're doing everything else, for me, I would put contemplation on the same kind of significance, the same pedestal as eating properly, exercising properly, okay, sleeping properly, okay. We cannot thrive without contemplative period, neurologically contemplative periods every day, okay. And that's not a subjective need. It's an evolutionary, genetically driven, neurologically driven prerequisite of what it is to be healthy, okay. And in Ayurveda, they talk about sattva development. Sattva is kind of, some of you may have heard of sattva. Sattva is a state of mind and an outlook that's filled with optimism and positivity and energy and empowerment and all of the kind of traits we aspire to. Okay, so tonight I want to talk about this, why it's so important, how we do it, how we tie it all together. Okay, before I dive into that, I forgot to say, everyone here, firstly, a big welcome. I just got carried away. But secondly, if you could just give me, as always, a barrage of emojis, smiley faces, thumbs up, just to help everyone who's trying to find the video on the Facebook page find it a little bit more easily and a little bit more quickly, because I know every day there are people trying to find the video who can't find it. It just makes it easier. Okay, so I'd be super grateful if you could do that. So let's backtrack to why contemplative time and severing the stress response is so mandatory to optimizing our health, happiness, and well-being. Okay, so medical anthropologists have researched this to death. Okay, and what the current state of play is that from an evolutionary perspective, okay, before the Stone Age revolution, 10,000 years ago, so from the moment we evolved as a species, when we evolved from Homo erectus into Homo sapiens about 200,000 years ago, excuse me, I'm not sure what's going on with my throat today. Talking all day, that's why. So from an evolutionary perspective, what is now known and understood is that we have evolved. So we've got two kind of nervous system states in the body. One is called the fight or flight response, which I'm sure you've all heard of, the stress response. The other one is called the relaxation response. Okay, and from an evolutionary perspective, we are designed to be in a relaxation response about 70% of our waking state. Okay, so about 70% of our waking state, from waking up in the morning to going to bed, about 70% of that period we should be in a relaxation response. Hormonally, neurologically, immunologically, digestively, we should be in that healing, recovery kind of health boosting relaxation response. Okay, we should be in a stress response about 30% of the time. Okay, because actually acute stress is really, really good for us. But the big difference here is that if we now look at the Western published evidence, and this is really damning and it's really depressing and it's really scary. Okay, what the best, and most of this research is from Europe, but it probably applies to North America and Australia and the other continents, is that if we are evolutionary designed to be in a relaxation response 70% of the time and in a stress response 30% of the time, as it stands now, it's been completely flipped on its head. So as it stands now, when they've surveyed large groups of people, okay, particularly, who are working age, so, 18, 20 years or above, statistically, we are in a stress response 70% of the time and a relaxation response 30% of the time. So it's switched. Okay, we should be in a relaxation response 70%. We're in a stress response 70%. The whole thing is turned upside down. So 180 flip in our evolutionary requirements. Okay, and our body doesn't know how to thrive in that condition. Okay, it's like asking a fish to thrive out of water. Think about the effects on our hormones, and our immunology, on our digestion, on our emotional self, all of these things. Okay, 70%, we should be in a relaxation state, and we're now 70% in a stress response. That is, an unimaginable change in the way we're living our days. And I think a lot of people see that in their lives. I think a lot of people see that kind of chronic lingering stress. You get up in the morning, it's a rush, you get out the door, you get in the car, there's traffic, there's digital stimulation, you get to work, it's go, 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 you get home, you drive home, there's traffic, you cook dinner, and you kind of sit down at 8 o'clock in the evening and let out a sigh of relief. And, and that's the very small period of kind of relaxation. And it's catastrophically damaging, okay? Because we know that kind of chronic stress, that kind of chronicity of overwhelm, relentlessness, always doing, always acting, always, moving. It doesn't always need to be stress in terms of an argument with someone. It's just overwhelm, okay? We know that state is clinically correlated to virtually every chronic disease we can think of. Okay, so think about lots of the cancer research shows that stress is implicated in the development of cancerous cells from precancerous cells from healthy cells. Okay, we know stress is implicated in lots of cardiovascular problems, things like high blood pressure, but particularly catastrophic problems like heart attacks and strokes. Okay, we know it's linked to, we know stress affects the delivery of oxygen and blood into the brain, which is linked to things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. The list goes on. Weakened immunity. Think about this chronic overwhelm. The two biggest things it does is that it suppresses our immune system and it causes chronic inflammation. Okay, and that is if you had to sit in a lab, in a laboratory and say, right, how do we engineer a human physiology that is most vulnerable to disease, is most vulnerable to low levels of health, and is most vulnerable to a shorter lifespan, what you would create is a body that is immuno-weakened and chronically inflamed. Because that is going to aggravate everything that's disease causing, and it's going to suppress everything that's health promoting. Okay, not possibly, maybe, sometimes, unequivocally, all the time in all of us. Okay, Diane, I know my cancer was hugely impacted by my stress. I've heard that over the last 15 years of working in cancer. I've heard that from thousands of people. It's not just to say that you caused the cancer, or it's not to say that the stress caused the cancer, but the stress was implicated in the changes in the body that increased the risk, and we're all at that risk. Okay, so that trilogy of killers we keep on talking about, cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, this state of chronic overwhelm. And I'm sure there's lots of people listening here, if not most of us, and myself included in that, who regularly feel overwhelmed, whether it's from having to do too much in one day, too much at work, too much childcare, shopping, cleaning, cooking, whatever it may be, looking after relatives. I'm sure all of us feel a regular sense of overwhelm, or just like you just need to sit in a dark room and just take 5 minutes. Okay, this is what it feels like, and it also has this change in our stress response. This 70-30 180 degree switch we just spoke about has a profound impact upon our emotional reserves. So we look at, yes, it's really important. This whole week has been about how we optimize, radicalize our health, how we boost our immunity, how do we make ourselves feel the healthiest, most vital, most youthful, most energized, happiest, healthy versions of ourselves. That's the whole aim of this week. It's the whole aim of Ayurveda. But it's not just physical. Ayurveda talks so much about emotional vitality, traits like enthusiasm for life, waking up in the morning, looking forward to the coming day, feeling emotionally positive, feeling empowered, feeling hopeful, feeling optimistic, feeling vivacious, feeling excited about life, like young children do, that excitement for the coming day. We can't feel that if we're overwhelmed. Okay, if we're constantly feeling like the world is asking too much of us, if our life and our lifestyle is demanding too much of us, we can't feel those physical health qualities, and we can't feel those emotional health qualities. And what happens? We deteriorate. And suddenly we don't recognize who we are. We don't recognize this person walking around with high blood pressure. We don't recognize this person who's got aches and pains. We don't recognize this person who feels tired all the time, or who feels stressed, or is kind of, unmotivated and lost all vitality. And it's not us. It's because those qualities have been inflicted upon us by a complete change in our physiology, in our genetic expression, in our hormones, in our immunity, in our nervous system, all of these kinds of things. And it is absolutely mandatory, essential, non-negotiable that every day we do things to mitigate and reverse this problem. Okay, for me, when I think back, I was thinking about it about an hour ago. See, before I went live, I've actually been filming up at Goodwood all day today, which is why I think I've got a sore throat, because I've been talking all day. So excuse my raspy throat. And I was talking about this up at Goodwood. I think it's one of the questions I was asked in the interview was, what are the key health snippets you give to people when they ask you, how do I become healthier? And the first thing that came into my mind was not eating healthier or this, that, and the other. It was, the two things I thought of were circadian alignment and contemplative quiet time. Okay, retracting from the world. Why is that so powerful? Because the stress that we are evolutionary designed for is called acute stress. So think about when we were living in hunter-gatherer communities. Okay, we're walking along, everything's going tickety-boo, we're in a nice relaxation response, and then a pride of lions or a saber-toothed tiger comes up. Okay, the fight or flight response kicks in, and we either run away from the tiger, or we kill it, or we die. Okay, but either way, within a short period of time, an hour, 2 hours max, that stress has been resolved one way or another. It's gone. Okay, then we move back into the relaxation response, the healing state. Okay, so the stress arrives, it's dealt with, and it disappears. Correlate that with the stress that we feel. Mortgage problems, money problems, discontent with work, unhappy relationships, not enough hours in the day, feeling underappreciated, poor relationships, all the millions of things that happen. They're chronic. They don't have an endpoint. We wake up in the morning, it's there. We go through the day, it's there. We go to bed in the evening, it's there. Again and again and again. There's no end to it. And we don't have the physiology, we don't have the nervous system to deal with that, because we haven't evolved it. We're designed to deal with a short, acute stressor. My tribe is starving, we need to find food. And you find food within the next day or two, the stress ends. Okay? We're not designed to live with stresses that last for years, in some cases decades. Okay? So the way out of this problem is a biohack. Okay, it's to trick the body. Because if you say you're dealing with the stress, say you really dislike your job, you hate your commute, and Monday to Friday you wake up with a sense of dread that the day's starting again, and you just hate it. Okay, and I've been in that place in my life before, so I know what that feels like. You wake up and the stress is there. Okay, you go through the whole day, the stress is there. It's chronic. There's no relief. There's no ending. So your immune system becomes suppressed, your inflammatory markers go up, your digestive system is reduced, your risk of infection increases, all the things we've just spoken about. But if you wake up in the morning and the stress is there, and then you sit down and you listen to the birds, or you meditate, or you go for a mindful walk, or you practice yoga, anything that's contemplative, what happens? All of those activities switch the body into a relaxation response. Okay, so for 20, 30, 40 minutes, you move the body consciously into a relaxation response. So you wake up, the stress is there. You initiate a behavior that severs the stress response and initiates the relaxation response. Then you come out of that practice, yoga, meditation, whatever it is, and the stress is there again. Okay, but you've broken the chronicity of it. Rather than it being a stress that you wake up with and is there all day, you wake up with it, the stress is there, you break it, period of relaxation, and then the stress is there when you come out. But as far as the body's concerned, that's not one chronic stress, it's one stress that's dealt with and then another stress that's begun. The body doesn't know that it's the same stress, it just knows that there was stress, it's been removed, the tiger's been killed, and then another stress is here. And that's actually really, really good for you, because it's turning chronic stress into acute stress. Sorry, it's turning acute stress, it's turning the chronicity of that stress into short acute periods, and we thrive physiologically and emotionally, we thrive in that place. Okay, so then what happens? They've looked at this in the research. You look at people who've got chronic stress around relationships, money, this, that, and the other. They're immunocompromised, they're fatigued, they're sleeping badly, all of these things. Then they initiate a period of contemplation. And when you track their blood work, you track their hormones, you track this, that, and the other, at about 3 weeks, about somewhere between 18 and 21 days, statistically, you reanalyze them, okay? And they're not the same person. Within 18 days, 21 days, their immune system's gone from being suppressed to optimal. Their inflammatory scores have come right down. Their hormone balance is optimal. Their hormone symptoms, PMS, menopausal problems, impotence, low libido, are all being resolved. Their vitality for life is improving. Why? Because suddenly the body's gone from operating in an environment that it doesn't know how to exist in, chronic stress, to being back on the savannah, you know, in Tanzania 200,000 years ago, where everything's going really well, short stress, deal with it. Everything's going really well, short stress, you deal with it, and it goes on and on. And that's where we are designed to thrive. So periods of contemplation are, as if someone said to me, you could eat an average diet with optimal contemplative time or a perfect diet with no contemplative time, I would pick the average diet with contemplation. Obviously, we want both. We want a great diet and contemplation. We want all of it. But that's how powerful Ayurveda views this. It's how powerful the clinical published research views it. I've seen it in, I've got lab reports and blood reports from thousands of people with cancer. And when they initiate practices that mobilize this mechanism, all of their markers improve. Okay. So the reason I call it me time or contemplation rather than meditation is that I think it makes it more universal. Okay, I'm a huge fan of meditation. I meditate every morning. I do it religiously. I can't imagine life without it. But for a lot of people, it's not the best fit. Okay, or a lot of people, they might prefer mindful walking. They might prefer slow yoga. They might prefer listening to the birds or a guided imagery session or classical music or it could be anything. Okay, it doesn't matter. And I think one of the big problems with meditation in the West is that it's become the end in and of itself. Meditation is it. Whereas in the Eastern traditions, meditation is not the end, it's the means to the end. The end is peacefulness, health, contentment, happiness, vitality, energy, enthusiasm, all the things we aspire to. So the key, we're going to move on to the routine in a minute, the creator's hour now. But the first part of today, the next health ritual is to look at your daily routine from the moment you open your eyes to the moment you shut them in the night time, and say how during that period of 15, 16 hours, how and where and doing what will allow me to protect and prioritize a period of contemplation. And what does that look like for you? Okay, for me, it's meditation. It could be something very different. Okay, but if you embed that every day, okay, you can't guarantee anything in health, but I virtually guarantee you that within a couple of weeks, statistically, like I say, 18 days, you will feel different in the way you engage with the world, with your energy, your health, your vitality. Okay, not because you enjoy it or not because meditation makes you feel better or because practicing yoga slows your mind. They're all important, but it's changing the neurochemistry of your body. It's changing the hormone profile of your body. It's changing your physiology so that it's in line with how you are and how I am meant to exist over 200,000 years of evolution. Okay, this is absolutely sacrosanct. But we can take it even further. Okay, and this is something that I was going to run a bonus session on because it's so important, but it made sense to, I think I can get it within the half-hour time, and it makes sense to bolt it onto this because I touched on the concept of Brahma Mutra on Sunday, I think. Okay, Brahma Mutra is the Vedic concept of the creator's hour. Okay, it's the early morning period we spoke about when we spoke about getting up earlier, waking up with the sunrise. Okay, the period, it's about an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes after sunrise is called Brahma Mutra, the creator's hour. Okay. And it's kind of described as a period of time that you protect every morning to set yourself up for brilliance over the coming day. Okay, every part, every nuance, everything that makes you you, your personality, your body, your digestive system, your mood, your energy, your outlook, your goals, everything, before you leave the door for the house in the morning, before you even have breakfast in the morning, you have set yourself up for brilliance. That's why it's called the creator's hour. You create your life, your health, your direction in that hour. Okay, and like I said I think I said it on Sunday, it's to me it's the biggest gift that Ayurveda offers to the West. Okay, because it's designed to initiate something called homeostasis. Okay, homeostasis is a state in the body where everything, every gene, every cell, every organ, our whole body, our mind, every part of us is operating from a place of absolutely optimal balance. Okay, homeostasis is the foundation of health. The whole aim of the Brahma Mutra morning routine is to initiate and develop homeostasis before the day begins. Okay, that's very kind of you, Caroline. Listening to you is my meditation. That's very kind of you. I'm sure you're all sick to death of me waffling on every evening, but this message is today's message is really important. Okay, so the key point is that if we're trying to get up a bit earlier, okay, we spoke about getting up a little bit earlier on Sunday. Maybe you might be getting up 20 minutes early. You might be getting up half an hour earlier, or you might be getting up an hour earlier. It doesn't make any difference. Rather than just getting up earlier, we use that. So say you get up at 7 and now you're getting up at 6. You've got an extra hour, but that hour is not just about getting up earlier. It's what we do in the extra time we provide for ourselves. Okay, and the Ayurvedic Optimal Routine, which is what Brahma Mutra is the routine you follow, is a way of filling that hour or filling that 30 minutes with techniques that transform every part of ourselves. Okay, and again, we've got I've got a full document. Okay, it's quite a big document actually. It's about 4 or 5 pages, which comes from the Ayurvedic Mentor, which I'll talk about tomorrow, briefly, which describes what the Ayurvedic Optimal Routine is. Okay, but what it is for me, which is why I've always gotten up early. Some people, I'm definitely a kind of a lark. I rise early. I always have done. But even if I didn't, I would consciously get up earlier to protect this time. Okay, why? Because if I get up at 5:30, okay, and I haven't got to wake my kids up for school until like 6:45, I've got at least an hour. Okay, every morning the whole house is asleep. Okay, what does that allow me to do? Get up, make a cup of tea, sit on the sofa, watch the sun come up. Okay, watch the day begin. Okay, just come to for 5-10 minutes drinking a cup of tea. Okay, the dog's there. In winter you've got the fire going. It's just a lovely way to start the day. Okay, then what? Meditation. Okay, 20 minutes meditation. Okay, start the day from an empowered mindset. Move all of your physiology into balance. Get the immune system firing strongly. Get your inflammatory mechanisms under control. Balance your hormones. Stimulate your digestion. Get your whole body firing on all cylinders in preparation for the day. Okay. Then, so 20 minutes of meditation, you could do 10 minutes. It doesn't really make any difference. Okay. Then I come out of that, and my next period of me time is journaling. Okay. Which is, to me, another non-negotiable. Okay, because writing in my journal every morning is kind of in the Eastern traditions, particularly the Tibetan traditions, is called engineering. It's called engineering your day. Okay, you write down in your journal a variety of things, and there's the whole books around journaling. I'm sure there's lots of people here who journal, but the things that I like to do is every day I write 5 things that I'm grateful for and I'm looking forward to this coming day. Okay, what are 5 things that I'm really grateful for? Okay, then I do my daily 5. So the next thing are 5 things that I have to do to make this day brilliant. Okay, whether it's exercising, going to the gym, eating good food, spending time with my children, finishing a really important kind of task, reading a really uplifting book. 5 things that when I go to bed tonight will have made this day brilliant. Okay. And then the thing that I write the most about in my journal is my mindset. What mindset do I want to cultivate over this coming day? How do I want to show up in the world? Positive, empowered, hopeful, optimistic, abundant. Writing that down, it sets yourself up for greatness. Okay. Then once I've done that, I do about 5 to 10 rounds of sun salutations. Okay, just yoga flows. Okay, fires up the metabolism. Really easy to do. There are seated versions if you're not that mobile. It fires up the metabolism. It gets the digestive system stoked up. It resets the cardiovascular system. It gets us energized. Okay, it's called sun salutations, not so much because we do it in the morning, but because it's a way of firing up the sun in us. Okay, it fires up the heat. Then I have my shower. Then I self-massage, and then I'm done. Then it's time for breakfast. Get the kids up. Okay, and everyone's routine is going to look different based upon your individual circumstances. But for me, that takes about an hour. If I'm really rushed, I can get it down to half an hour. But that means by the time I start the day, you go out into the day knowing that every single part of me is been optimized. I've created who I want to be this day in my physiology, in my mindset, in my psychology, in my objectives, in my goals, all of the things. And because ultimately a long, happy, healthy life is made up of long, happy, healthy days. Okay, if you live a healthy, happy day, you're going to have healthy, happy weeks, healthy, happy months, healthy, happy years and decades. Okay, the mindset. So I write down 5 things I'm grateful for, or 5 things I'm looking forward to. I write down my daily 5, which are 5 things that have to happen today to make this a brilliant day, professionally, personally, health-wise, whatever. And then I write down the mindset that I want to cultivate. Okay, how do I want to show up today in my mind? Do I want to be detached, non-judgmental, optimistic, abundant, positive? I write down how I want my mind to be over the coming day, what qualities I want to present to the world, how I want to be in myself. It just keeps me, I love it, it keeps me balanced. Okay. And before the day begins, that means we pulled the trigger on mobilizing health in every part of ourselves, chemically, genetically, immunologically, every part of us. Okay, and I know of no other way of transforming the experience of our body and the experience of our mind as profoundly as that Brahma Mutric morning routine. It changes everything. And I almost challenge you, I challenge you to do it for 30 days. That's what I've taught thousands of people this morning routine. And I always say to them, just do it for 30 days. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard because you don't want to get up and, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that. But just say, I'm going to do it every day for 30 days. And then stop, okay? Stop and see what happens. Feel how different you are when you no longer do it. And that will be the biggest motivator you need to do it for the rest of your life. And if you do it for the rest of your life, you will be unleashing unimaginable benefits on your body and your mind and your health and your longevity. Okay, so but the final thing, start slowly. You don't have to jump in and get up and do an hour. You might just get up half hour earlier, get up, have a cup of tea, do 10 minutes of meditation and a 5-minute self-massage and a shower. Okay, you don't need to I don't do the same routine every morning. If I'm really busy and rushed, I do a shorter routine. Okay, but the key point is that we protect a period of contemplation, and 2, we ideally try and embed that in the morning into a morning routine that sets ourselves up for a brilliant, happy, healthy day. Okay, you do that, you can do everything. It's so important. Okay, and I can see quite a few questions popping up. So any questions I will answer retrospectively, and then I'll let everyone go. But tomorrow is a fundamentally important session because it's with nothing we've spoken about this week works if our sleep isn't optimal. Okay, so tomorrow we're talking about the melatonin curve, sleep, herbal remedies, herbal tonics, and all things sleep promotion. Okay, so a massive thank you for being here tonight. A massive thank you for all of your engagement in the Facebook page, all of your posts, all of your comments. It's so important. So a massive thank you for being here, for showing up, and I will see you back 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. Have a great evening, guys, and I'll see you soon.